Hello, everyone. Cheers. Welcome to the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour. I'm Blaze.
And I'm Ken. Blaze, this is great. We've been having a great run of shows recently. I'm super excited about everything. This has
Yep,
just been a lot of fun.
I know, right? Speaking of fun, Riesling in the glass. What do you got? What do you got going on?
We're getting closer to Halloween. I've got some
Hmm.
vampire Merlot. A very big staple in my household during this time of year. They make some really great wine, and their sister company Werewolf is okay, but I prefer vampire.
All right. Do you know what you're going to be yet for Halloween, or is it too early?
Oh, that's a
Because it's
tough one.
October now, so let's
I
go. What?
know there's so many options. I don't know. I'm a huge Captain America fan, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I have a replica Captain America top, which is essentially a beautiful leather jacket, and I also have a hoodie that pulls over the front. So I just put the hoodie on, throw the jacket on, and I've got my full Captain America gear. So I might wind up doing that again this year.
All right. You know what? I can't bring myself to ever wear the same costume twice. That's my problem. That's why I have so many costumes, I
You
think.
know, I used to say the same thing until, I was doing the radio show and going to conventions, and apparently I made a very good Joker, and I've done the Joker a lot over the years.
Gotcha. I mean, when
So,
I say I don't wear them again, I mean for Halloween. Somehow I
yeah.
find a way to wear them. I mean, on this show, I'm sure for Halloween we'll definitely be dressed up. We might even do part two of it, maybe in November. We carry over the costumes. Who knows? Who knows? You never
You
know.
know, back in my old show, we used to do a thing called Halloween isn't over until we say it is. So maybe that can carry over. Who knows?
I like it. I like it. So, what else has been new this week? Anything? I saw on your glass. Did you have Game of Thrones there
I
on your glass?
do actually. Yes.
Yes. See, I
Yes.
noticed it right away. Have you been
Yeah.
watching?
House of the Dragon, yes. I found it a little rough in the beginning. It was interesting, but I found it a little rough. It's picked up a lot. It's gotten very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, and me being a Matt Smith fan, like any chance I get to see him on screen, I revel in it. So I love his character. I love to hate him, and in a weird
He's the
way,
little finger. He's little finger. I don't like him.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I
Well,
wouldn't call him that. I think he's a little more drawn out. I think they've developed him a little bit more in a way. Um, he has a bigger part to play, I think, than Littlefinger does, who would just
I
pop
just
up
mean you love to
periodically.
hate. I meant you
Oh
love to
yeah.
hate
Oh yeah.
Littlefinger.
But
Definitely.
but in a weird way, it's almost like I feel I kind of empathize with him because he has a sense of family to a degree. It's a weird, twisted, thing of family, but he still kind of has it. You know,
Uh,
I, I'm really digging his character. I love it.
I'm gonna disagree, but only because
Well,
I.
listen. He's made some very morally uh uh mm, bad choices, but
Yes, yes, but I don't think morality is is the name of the game in in House of the Dragon anyway.
no.
So no, but I've been definitely enjoying it. Let's see, what did I do this week? I'm trying to think. Oh, this is actually kind of funny because our guest today, we actually know each other. He's distributed one of my movies in the past, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. But I saw the beginning of his new movie, and it was there was a little speed dating going on, and I thought of Speed Damon and Holly, and you, of course, were in that. But then I was thinking about dating, and I have to tell you this funny story that happened. My friend Raluca, she's one of my best friends. I don't think you've met Raluca yet, but she invited me to go out. We were going to Nolan's, which is a pub nearby, and I didn't know though that I was going on a date with her. and her guy that she her first date. I had no idea till I'm there, and all of a sudden, I I heard him say something about our first date, and I was like, "Wait, what? How am I on your first date right now?" So I looked at her and was like, "Wait a minute." She's like, "Ah," and I was like, "Wait, I'm the third wheel? How
I
is
was
this
say
possible?"
I was just gonna say, so you're playing third wheel on somebody's first date.
Yeah, I kind of
Interesting.
laughed about it, but then at one point he was like, "Hey, do you want to play pool?" And I was like, "This is your date with her, not me." So I had a good laugh about it. It was great though. It was so funny.
Listen,
Uh,
you and I have had many conversations about dating habits over the years.
yeah.
So in a weird way, this is a kind of weird full circle apropos kind of thing in your life, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope not. For crying out loud.
Shoes on
Uh,
the other foot though. That's
I
all.
mean,
That's the only
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, we'll
So
see. But I actually see that our guest is here and I'm going to bring him in. So I'm so happy to welcome Tom Malloy. Hi, Tom.
Hello, hello.
Hi. How's
How
it
are you?
going?
I'm good. Good to see you. Hello, Ken.
Yes, good to
it's
see
a pleasure to
you.
meet you.
Nice to
Uh,
meet
so
you.
so you guys actually, from what I've gathered, actually have some history together. It
We
Yes.
seems to be a running
do.
theme lately on the show. It's only because I've been
History,
away
is
for
that
a
it?
couple of weeks.
Yeah, we do. I actually met Tom through our mutual friend Sean Michael. So
Mhm.
we'll give Sean Michael a little shout out.
Yeah.
Which Tom, he told me something today that was really funny, and I have to ask you about it real quick before we get into your interview.
Sure.
But I heard that when someone famous dies, you guys have a thing that you do where it's who can beat each other to, to
It's
go
like
home
who's in the
first.
know first. Yes. And there's one person that I had like an inside track on. I think it was James Gandolfini, and I sent him, and he was like, "No way." He goes, "I don't think that's true," and I had to look it up, and it was like hours before that broke. So I think I beat him on that one. Yeah,
I
it's
just thought that was so comical
yeah,
when he,
yeah,
of all the things that he could have told me about you,
yeah.
secret intel, that's what he
Exactly.
tells
Yeah.
me. And I was like,
That's
ah,
the most
all right,
exciting thing. But yeah, no, it's so funny because Sean's not on Facebook, which is like
right.
is 2022. And it's he'll ask things about what's going on in my life. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's right. You don't know, like you're not reading what I've posted on Facebook or whatever or Instagram. So he's just not connected somewhat, I guess. I
I
don't know.
think I think secretly, just because I know Sean pretty well, I think
Yeah,
he does have an account. It's just not under his name. So he sees what all of us are doing. He just
maybe.
doesn't he likes to razz us that he doesn't. I think that's what it
Maybe.
is.
Could be.
Well, anyway, so we're so happy to have you today.
Yeah.
A
Thanks.
big movie coming out for you this week, Ask Me to Dance.
Well, I'm divorced. I used to teach ballroom dancing. I don't anymore, but I still love to go out dancing.
I have borderline personality disorder. I'm also bipolar.
You like to dance?
No.
How long you been dancing?
My whole life.
It shows.
Thank you. You don't think I'm too old for you?
Nope, you're just my type. So we gonna close this tonight, or?
Hi. I was hoping to meet the guy that danced earlier. He was amazing.
You literally just missed him.
The year almost ends.
Went so fast.
You're going to meet the love of your life.
I am?
Yes, by midnight on New Year's Eve.
Is that so?
Did you have fun last night?
I met this old woman who told me that I was going to meet the love of my life before the end of the year. 4 days left after tonight. The exact day of your wedding and the last night of the year.
Some old lady said this?
Yes.
It's so random.
Well, I went through a divorce, and only now I'm ready to start dating again.
I am finally putting you on a dating app.
No.
Oh, wait.
I just want somebody to dance with. No complications, no commitments.
You need to meet my friend Jill. She's going through the same thing.
She'll be at the wedding.
Yeah, she's the maid of honor.
I've been dying to see this movie. Some sex after this, right?
I want to meet the love of my life, and this week has assured me that that is never going to happen.
I mean, I did stab my last boyfriend.
I give up.
You gotta settle.
I am not going to settle.
Hey, listen, I have a girl here that wants to meet you.
Look, Jack, say the girl that saw you dance that night is your soulmate. That would mean you're destined to bump into her again.
On the 7th is when it opens nationwide, 30 cities across the country. So yeah.
That's so exciting.
So based on the conversation, Tom, are you one of those guys that when one of the movies opens, like you're driving out to the theater, assessing the crowd, maybe waiting behind everybody, waiting to see reactions? Is that how that works?
When they like if they try to go to the bathroom, I'm like, "What are you doing? Get back in there! Sit down and watch the movie." And I have brass knuckles. No, that's not me. No,
Well, I am actually. I've actually done movies in theaters, and people would get up like, "No, my scene's coming on. Sit down now."
no, it's so funny. I think I was just talking to my son today about this. Is that I don't necessarily ever watch the movie that I'm in. Like I try to find excuses to get out there, and it was I think it was him or it was either that or my colleague David was just asking if I was going to sit through this time, the one in LA, and it's like I'm thinking I don't know. Like sometimes it's just tough to be in there watching myself and waiting for the next scene to come up and all that stuff. So it's just I know some actors are into watching themselves all the time. It's not me.
Yeah.
But I guess in that case I would be in the hallway asking people why the hell they were going to the bathroom at the best part. So, yeah.
Now, I know you have a big love of dance. 10 years, is it that you have been dancing or more?
Well, no more. I mean, I started taking ballroom dancing lessons in like 1997. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how long
Yeah.
80 years ago. No, that's a while ago now. But on and off, it was one of those things where it was like I would do it, and then it was really those. Oh wow, I just became like full screen. That's I don't know why I did that, but it was one of those things where I would do it on and off, and then go back to it, then take a couple years off and go back to it. But I from the beginning just fell in love with ballroom dancing, especially the style that I loved called West Coast swing, which was kind of a smooth, slinky version of swing, not like the big band swing. But the coolest part about it was just it's dance to contemporary music. It's dance to R&B, pop, blues, hip hop, and so it was like this ballroom dance you could do to the music that I listened to.
That's awesome. So tell us about the movie. Tell us who's in it. Tell us the plot lines. Tell us your roles in it.
Sure. I had made a dance movie back in 2007 called Love and Dancing. It was myself and Amy Smart and Billy Zane and Betty White. I got to dance with Betty White in that movie. And
Wow.
yeah, and it
That
was
had to be
Rob
awesome.
Iscove. That was the greatest. And it was Rob Iscove, the director of She's All That. And while he was great, that was only about 25% of my vision, right? And I had this joke that I was making, I remember on the press tour. And by the way, we got crushed. We opened opposite Chris Pine's first Star Trek and just got this great. But
2009, right?
yeah, not the best move. But I made this joke and I said, there's only two types of dance movies. There is rich guy, rich gal, poor guy, poor gal. Any permutation of that learns how to dance, it changes their life, right? That's 90% right there. The other 10% is there's a place closing and they're going to put on a dance show to save that place. Like that's every dance movie, those two combinations. So, and in the midst of making that joke on the press tour, I thought, oh my God, Love and Dancing is what is the first category of those. And because it was like a girl that learned how to dance and changed her life. And so I thought, let me do something completely different. And so what Asked Me to Dance is a complete, now as a producer, an actor, and a writer, I never branded myself. I did horror movies, dramas, thrillers, all this stuff, did the light comedy of Love and Dancing. And so I said, as a director, I'm only going to do comedy. And so what I did is I went back and just did a dating comedy. It's really just a dating comedy. And these two leads connect on the dance floor. No one ever points to it and goes, oh, that's West Coast swing and this is that. It's just like they exist in a world where they're both these great dancers and that's how they connect. But the plot goes, not to take too long here and squish it down, I want to give you the backstory. But there's two kind of star-crossed lovers that meet this gypsy woman on the same night separately, and she tells them that they will meet the love of their life within 5 days, which happens to be the end of the year, which happens to be New Year's Eve. And they both keep missing each other and go on a series of the worst dates. I took every worst date that I've been on in my life, friends' dates, stories that I've heard, put them all together, and they keep missing each other, going on these horrible dates. And, as the New Year's Eve countdown comes, 10, 9, 8, 7, do they meet each other and fall in love and have a dance? I mean, I'm sure you could probably guess the ending, or else a lot of people would be disappointed, but that's it. Yes.
Oh, I love it. When you were just talking about kind of what you're doing as a director, you're only kind of focusing on romantic comedies,
Mhm.
and rom-com came into my head, and then I thought this might be something you might want to use. But what about if we call it a tom-com
Tom-com.
instead of a
Yes.
rom-com? It's a
Maybe
tom-com.
that's a rom-com with dancing in it. You know what I
There
mean?
we
Like maybe
go.
that'll be my unique thing. Like if there's some kind of
There
dance.
we go. I want credit for it, though. You heard it here.
Yes, and we'll put like a little blaze coil thing.
Tom-com, a little.
Yeah.
You just need a little flame. A little flame. That's all. That's all.
Yes. Good.
That's all. Just a little flame. So you wear all these different hats. Where did it all begin from, though? Like, where was the original? Was it acting that started, or was it dancing that
It
was your
was.
first thing?
No, acting, gosh, in 96, or I believe, I did a film called Gravesend. We shot it on the streets of Brooklyn, New York, and we would literally go up to a street corner and there'd be a gang of thugs, and we'd be like, "You guys want to shoot a fight scene?" They'd be like, "Yeah, all right." And big fights would break out every night. And we improvised the whole movie. Now, I'd want to be an actor my whole life. I'd been doing theater and performing in front of crowds since I was a little kid. And that we improvised that whole movie, but then eventually got Oliver Stone to put his name on it. It was in theaters, right? And I was like the second biggest role in the movie. And that movie's called Gravesend. Now, what happened was, when that movie didn't make me a big overnight success, I said, all right, let me just try to learn every other aspect of the business. And that's what I did. I mean, to make the long story short, I just produced my 20th film last month. I've written 30 plus screenplays, and I've optioned, sold, or made the movies 25 of those screenplays. I've starred in a bunch of movies and acted, I think, in close to 40 films now. And I've raised over $25 million for private equity financing for movies. That number actually has been increased since then. I'd have to figure out what the new number is. And then I wrote the book Bankroll, which was like the gold standard book of film financing. And then on top of all that, I, about 6 years ago, started a distribution company that started in my living room, and now it's grown to, we have 134 films in the catalog, 6 people in the company, and we're bigger and bigger each year. So started small and grew big. So yeah, and so we sell films. So man, I couldn't be more involved in movies. There it is.
Yeah.
I'll actually throw it out there. You talk about first projects going out being improv with guys beating the crap out of each other. That seemed like a lot of my early stuff acting. It was all guerrilla. It was so guerrilla.
Can you see that that's John Cassavetes back behind me right there, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's my inspiration. I mean, he created indie film in this country, at least. And he was the first person that was like, let's just make these lights, bigger in this room and shoot an argument between a wife and her husband. And it was like, God, if you look at Faces and Shadows and those old movies that he did, A Woman Under the Influence, and those incredible movies, it was like, that's what it was. It was all improvised. Besides Gravesend, I did one other improvised movie called Screamers, #Screamers. And it was just, the performances in that movie are so good. Like, you can really get a truism and a realism of the performances if you got to be good, though. You got to be great at improvising. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while I work with actors that would improvise something and it would completely ruin the scene by their one sentence. So yeah, there's kind of a skill to it. But anyway, it is fun and freeing, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Oliver Stone, working with him. What was that like? I mean, because that's a legend, a giant.
Yeah, so the key is he had put his name in the film, and we only met him once back then. And interestingly enough, as I was a kid, and 18 years old or something like that. And years later, doing work in this business, I ran into Sean Stone, who was a friend of a friend, and Oliver's son, and we were hanging out one night having drinks. And I said, your dad, he was a producer on the film. And Sean's relatively my age. I'd have to look him up. I'd say he's probably within 3 years, probably older than me. And he goes, yeah, that was me who told my dad, dude, you got to sign this film. Like, you got to put your name in this film. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, 20 years later, I meet him and he tells me that story. And I'm like, that is so cool. So I thought that was fun.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you also mentioned that you've worked with Betty White. So, what were your memories with her? I mean, that's like,
Yeah, I mean, I have to know too, being like a huge Golden Girls fan, Mary
Yeah.
Tyler Moore. Like I think we all just grew up with her being like feeling like a family person, on our TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, she felt like everybody's grandmother at that time. I wanted her to, be a surrogate grandma. She was great. We had brought her over. We were shooting the film in New Mexico. And, what was cool is that she was so into zoos. And there was an ape that was in the one zoo in LA. And apparently, like, the sister ape or the brother ape was in this zoo in New Mexico. And so we were able to get her in the film with the enticement that if she didn't do it, we're gonna kill the ape. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But we were able to get. It's not true. But we were going to get her. We did get her over the enticement that the next day we would take her on a personal tour, and she'd get to. And so we did that, and it actually wasn't me because I think I was shooting the next day. But the other producer, Sylvia Kaminer, ended up taking her to the zoo, and she had a whole interaction thing with the ape. So that was pretty cool. So yeah.
That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
We actually had a show a few weeks back, and it was with Brandon Crane from
Okay.
It TV series,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he told us a story about John Ritter. That's what it just reminded. I love those stories, especially when someone has passed, just to remember,
It's
and obviously as iconic as Betty White.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. We appreciate it.
Well, what's cool is that, and I've met Jason, his son. I wanted to be like, "Oh, your dad was the king," but I didn't say any. You know, you never know. But then I just worked in Ask Me to Dance. Funny enough, Joyce DeWitt is in the film with us,
Yeah.
and she's Janet from Three's Company. I guess I didn't ask her about John either because I thought John was up there at the all-time greats physical comedian.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jackie
Absolutely.
Gleason, John Ritter, Dick Van Dyke. Like that's
Yep.
probably it as far as physical comedians on TV in the history. And but gosh, I guess I should have asked her more about working with John. So yeah.
I actually met Joyce years ago, believe it or not, at New York Comic Con, which I thought was a weird venue for her. But she was very sweet and very open about everything, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, there was nothing that you could ask her that she wouldn't just be honest about.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's fun. It's kind of cool. You know, it is strange how the Comic Con are attract a different audience. You know, like that. Sometimes you're like, this person's at the Comic Con. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, she's the sweetest. She was great. In fact, just recently, just last what was it, Friday or Saturday night? No, Saturday night. I have a friend, Brian Krause, who's one of my closest friends, and he was on the TV.
From Charmed, yeah.
Yeah, Charmed. Which the joke is, I've never seen even one episode. And I had a friend from years back that I had lost contact with that was also one of the stars, Dorian Gregory. And I was like, Brian kind of reminded me about that. And I said, I got to reconnect with Dorian. But I met and hung out with Holly Marie Combs, who, again, I'd never once seen the show. So it's like, I didn't know, you know, I didn't know she was. But it's like, man, they had these rabid fans like that go from Comic-Con to Comic-Con and just hang out with them, and the same ones that I was like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's a pretty, you know, it's like, all right, you know, but look, usually the people that are doing the Comic-Cons and going to them like Brian and Holly are the greatest. Like they love it. They love getting appreciated by the fans all these years later.
Well, you know what? I mean, being a fan going to those things is one thing, but I mean, it's also a great thing doing like what we do, you know, talking to people, interviewing people. It's a great venue to be able to like spend some time with someone that you normally might not be able to get to immediately. You know, it's actually really cool.
Well, yeah, you know, I really am into working with actors that are like, I don't want to say what legends, but what I mean by that is that if I was in a film with Tom Cruise, right, or Brad Pitt, it's like I would be super competitive. I would not be geeking out. I would be super like, I'm better than you. Like, especially if it was a comedian. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? Especially if it was a Will Ferrell or something. I would be proving myself. But when I work with character actors like Larry Hankin, who was fantastic, Peter Jason, it's like these guys. I just love. I get such a kick out of them. I love being around them. I love working with them. Joyce DeWitt. I mean, Catherine Mary Stewart from Weekend at Bernie's. We've done 4 films or 5 maybe together now.
Oh my God. I loved her, you know, Last Starfighter, Night of the Comet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Last Starfighter, Night of the Comet. Yeah. So and again, like those people I like working with more than the big stars, but it is fun. It's like when you grow up with people like that, and you've seen them and you watch them in your childhood, and now you're like, they're calling you on the phone or texting you. It's weird, you know. It's like, yeah. I played poker with Donnie Most, who was Ralph Malph on Happy Days, the nicest guy. His wife is a sweetheart, and it is funny to be like, oh yeah, I used to watch that show when I was a kid.
You're the second person that mentioned Donnie Most. Who was the other one that mentioned Donnie Most? Ken, do you remember? Mandy Del Rio.
Mandy Del Rio, yeah.
Just a few weeks ago, I was like, wait, I remember that Ralph Mouth was mentioned then. Like,
that's so funny. Yeah, he's a good.
It's the best. Small world.
Yeah,
it is that 6 degrees of separation.
And
for sure.
and it becomes weird, like when that kind of relationship happens. Like one day off camera, I will tell you this bizarre story that I have about Edward James Olmos.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, there, there's every once in a while you get weird stories, little quirks and things like that, and it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it's rare, but yes, because usually they're really nice people, but every once in a while you get some weird quirk or something like that.
Now, do you do theater at all still, or no?
No, it's like it couldn't. I don't think I'd have the time, and the money wouldn't be there enough for me to keep everything else going. So
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do it. But I still perform improv every once in a while. Like I have Scott Baker, who's a comedy partner that I worked with for years, and this other guy, Tommy Bechtold, who he'll come up and we'll do this TNT show, Tommy and Tommy, and we just improvise 20 minutes of just free form comedy, and it's killed every time, knock on wood. And so, every once in a while that's fun to just keep sharp and just be able to be in front of crowds. But as far as the theater goes, I literally was just talking to somebody. We were in New York City, my buddy Paolo, and he was seeing his friend was the lead in Little Shop of Horrors off Broadway. And he was like, would you ever do this? And I'm like, I hate to be as conceited to say they couldn't afford me, but I actually do mean that, meaning I couldn't give up all the other stuff and for the the salary of a Broadway thing. It just wouldn't make any sense.
I don't know,
could see
but
you with the glasses. I could see you as Seymour.
Yeah,
well,
I can
not
sing, so yeah.
not even after talking to you, I could see you as the dentist.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I would love to play the dentist. That would be the ultimate role.
That is one of the greatest roles ever. I'll be honest. Like
the guy that was doing it, I wish I could shout out to him. Because the woman we were watching was Tammy Blanchard, and that was my buddy Paolo's friend. She played what's the female lead?
Audrey.
And anyway, the guy that played the dentist was just out of this world. I wish I could shout out to him, but I don't.
It's one of the greatest roles because all you do is chew up the scenery.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and that
exactly.
And you're like allowed to chew the scenery. Like
the
more you do it, the better. And this guy definitely did. It was great.
Yeah. Now, so you've done so much in terms of acting and kind of a combination of everything. What's next for you? Or do you have any projects lined up after Ask Me to Dance is released?
Yeah, no, I have a film called The It Guy. That's a fun kind of comedy, or the IT guy. It depends on how you read it, but it's a kind of a nutty professor type office comedy, like a geeky IT guy that certain things happen to and becomes the coolest guy in the office. And so it's really fun and funny. And I'm developing a couple projects with a big producer that has 2 Oscar nominated films. And so I'm trying to get, those big ones going. But at the same time, really the main thing is expanding Glass House distribution and acquiring more films. But I thankfully have a team that does that. So I'm just, I kind of oversee things. And filmmaking stuff, which I think you know about. That, like my book Bankroll, they had asked me to write a 3rd edition. There was 2 editions that came out, and each edition you have to write like maybe 30-40% new stuff. And so we put it all online on this site called Filmmaking Stuff. And it's also Filmmaking Stuff HQ, which is like a membership site. And it's become one of the top like filmmaking instructional sites on the internet. Anybody could teach cameras and stuff like that. And you could probably learn a lot on YouTube, but film financing and film distribution, we have like lockdown, and I don't think anybody else teaches it the way we do. So that's going great. And so it's basically, those are the main 2 things that I was working on at the same time, developing projects here and there, finalizing the films that I produced. I produced one in Scotland this year that I was also in. It was called Trauma Therapy Psychosis. It was the sequel to this movie Trauma Therapy I made in 2019. And and the other 2 films last month. So what are you going to do? Just keep chugging along.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you like to do for fun? But
I just said that to somebody. I'm like, I'm not, in the midst of COVID, me and my buddy Vince Lozano started this online poker thing with all our friends. And it was the midst of COVID. That was when we could all do it. They still play it 5 nights a week because it's a cash game. 5 nights a week, they still play this thing. And I'm like, I don't have time to do any of it. And I was joking. I think it was with Brian Krause. And I'm like, I don't really have, because he plays golf all the time. And I'm like, I've got nothing right now. Like I'm working and then doing more work and then doing a little more work. And so, yeah, I think it's a workaholic, but that makes it sound so bad because it's something that I really love doing.
Oh, you know what? A mutual friend, I was just thinking, Chase Coleman. Wasn't he in the Trauma movie?
Hell yeah, Chase. Yeah. In fact, it's so funny. Let me just, it's great you said that. I'm going to write his name down because I think it's one person that I didn't hear back from for the premiere. Or no, maybe I did. I'll have to just double check on him. Oops, knocked over.
Well, Tom, real quick as you're doing that, is the IT guy like already set? Are you in production already, or what's the deal? Because it almost sounds like it's like the story of my life. And if you don't put me in this somewhere, I'm going to be very upset.
Ah, that'd be great. I mean, yes, it's we could totally. No, it's not. The script is set, and I have a big producing partner attached on that. But I'm kind of trying to use the momentum of Ask Me to Dance to get that going. So I will keep you posted. Are you drinking wine, by the way, Ken?
I am actually.
Oh, come on!
It's a happy hour, Tom. We're the Silver Phoenix happy hour. Where's your drink? Oh no,
And it's like, and it's me who's notorious for
toast
Tom,
with water.
Wait, Tom, improv, right? You've got vodka in there.
It is straight vodka. No, this is
There
how
you
I
go.
get through my day.
There-
This is right.
there you go.
I call it wake up juice, and that's what I wake up with now.
That's it.
Unfortunately,
That's
it's
it.
just water. Unfortunately.
Well, we were going to cheers to you. But now, what would have been your drink if you?
Well,
you know.
That's so I drink martinis. That's kind of drink. Gin martini, extra dirty, olive juice, no olives. That's kind of my drink go to. Yeah, the key with that is I used to love Irish whiskey, but being a Malloy, but I couldn't tell you how many Irish whiskeys I had. It could have been 3, could have been 12. Because I just down them. They were going down so easy. But I always say, and my dad told me this, a martini, you could always tell the exact number of martinis that you had. I could tell you if I had 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is probably I'm like on the floor by that point.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah, but martinis, every amount that you've had of martinis.
So last week we did a Bronx Tale was our theme because it was the anniversary of the Bronx Tale on September 29th. And my drink that week, because I usually try to theme my drinks to whatever the show is, I went with the wine, the Riesling, just because, elegant dancing ballroom, but just for you. But last week it was a perfect martini called the Bronx, and it's basically a gin martini with orange juice. That's it. That's what makes it. It's called the Bronx, but it was from the Thin Man back in 1934, like a long time ago. That's what they drank. It was like one of the top 3 drinks.
Well, I love doing stuff like that. I had a book. I wish I could pull it out, but I'd have to look for it. And it was stories. Oh wait. It's no. That's about Casablanca, that book. But in Casablanca, they drink a champagne cocktail. But what it was a book that was all old celebrities. I love reading about old Hollywood, and it would tell the story of, let's just say, Laurel and Hardy and something like that. And then it would have a drink kind of that would go along with them. And so it was kind of a cool book like that had profile an old star, Mae West, and then have her the cocktail that she liked to drink the most and show that right afterwards. It was cool and how to make it. But,
nice.
That's incredible. We always ask one question to our guests, and that question is, what piece of advice would you give for someone who is just starting out in the business, maybe as an actor, maybe even on the other side as a producer or in distribution? Is there a piece of advice you would give, specific or advices? Maybe there's more than one.
Oh gosh. So, well, I mean, it's different for an actor, I would say, than somebody that, is a producer, looking for distribution and something like that. But all right, I'll give you this advice, this blanket advice for everybody, because I would have a different one. It was just an actor. I would say, well, I'll just say that for an actor or anybody that's looking to do something, there's so many opportunities to create that there weren't when, I was younger. You'd had to get a guy that had a 16 millimeter camera at least, and then maybe a 35 millimeter camera, and you couldn't create what you could do now on your iPhone. So there's so much more ability. Technology has allowed that, right? But the one thing I will say, actor, producer, writer, anybody, is go to one of the film markets. So the American film market starts November 1st this year to November 6th. I'm looking up there because it's my market schedule for the whole year. In Santa Monica, California. The first one I ever went to was 16 years ago, 2005. And I walked in and I'm like, I will never miss the American film market. There's just where business of movies takes place. And if you can learn that side of it, it'll just set you up so much better for the future as an actor, writer, producer, director, whatever it is. So, I think this year would have been my 16th year in a row or 17th year in a row, but it was canceled the past 2 years because of COVID. And so I was actually there, but on Zoom. It wasn't, not a real festival. So this year it's coming back live and in person, and I think everybody's excited for it. But it's not just Cannes. I mean, it's not just AFM. It's Cannes in May, and Berlin, which is the EFM in February, or even Toronto Film Festival. So any of those, you just got to get to, and not just film festivals, get to the market side of it and see that, and it'll push your career to the next level.
Nice. That's a great advice. Thank you. Ken, do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask Tom?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, please. God,
Of all the projects,
Yeah.
of all the projects that you have been in front of the camera and behind the camera on, which one would you say is your closest baby?
Well, without question, Ask Me to Dance. After all these years, decided to direct a film. It was so special for me because when Love and Dancing was like a nightmare with the whole financing and everything and putting it all together and the distribution, I didn't know what I was doing. And we opened again in a bad time. It was for me a kind of a redemption to make this film and see what I could do with it and really get my shot and brand myself. So prior to Ask Me to Dance, I would say it was #Screamers, and only because of all the movies I made, that was the closest to what the initial vision was in my head. I could go down the list. Alphabet Killer was maybe 25% of my vision, and Love and Dance was maybe 15, to 30%. Like, it's always a percentage of the vision. And Screamers was like 90% of the initial vision I had. But Ask Me to Dance for me is the one that's like my baby, because it was the first directorial debut for me. So, and it made me into a quadruple hyphenate. I was an actor, writer, producer for all those years. And now I'm an actor, writer, producer, director. So soon I'm going to move into the catering space and see
what will be on the menu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, craft services, I was always there on set.
Yeah. It'd be fun to be a craft services person and then just have alcohol all the time for people.
Oh, yeah.
Ruin the movie.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Alphabet City, or the Alphabet Killer.
Mm-hmm.
I know Shawn Michael was in that one. Who else was in that one? Was that the Elijah?
So yeah, that was Eliza Dushku, Carrie Elways, Tim Hutton, Melissa Leo. We had Michael Ironside, me,
Michael Ironside.
and
I'm a huge Ironside fan.
Yeah, me too.
What's super cool about him is that a lot of people don't realize how Canadian he is. That sounds so weird.
Oh yeah.
Like here's this guy that had kind of this, this menacing voice in Total Recall and Top Gun. And I meet him on set and he's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, where's that coming? I've never heard that before. And that's literally how he talks with this Canadian accent. I'm like, you're hiding that the whole time? That's shocking. So that was funny. But it's interesting, you mentioned Sean, and that's how we met in our history of working on a film together. One of our early films that in Glasshouse called Sugar, and it was a very sweet, very nice movie. Sean, I did a movie called The Attic, and that was kind of my first professional movie. I wrote it. I got the director of Pet Sematary. I co-starred with Elizabeth Moss, Alexander Daddario's first movie. And
I'm actually a fan of that movie.
Oh, geez. Wow. Thank you. Oh, great. Yeah. So I gained like 30 pounds. I played this autistic guy and all that, and did all this research. I really got into the role. But that's a perfect example of the director's vision and my vision being the complete opposite, but I'm still glad you liked it. Anyway, Sean lived in Jersey. We shot in Jersey. He was just like a wannabe actor. He walked on set one day and, a lot of people ignored him, and I just made friends with him, and it was cool. And then when he would read the trades and he found out about Alphabet Killer, he called me one day and he says, "Dude, thanks, Tom." Well, no, I got him an audition for it. And then he called me one day and he said, "Thanks, for putting a word in with the director." And I thought, I didn't put in, what are you talking about? I didn't put in any word with the director. And the best part is, though I did get him the audition, he got to the next role and had a speaking role in the movie and had a great scene in the movie on his own merit. So that was pretty cool. It's like, and I say that for all my friends, if I'm not directing, and I've only done it one time, every other time I'm producing, it's the director who gets to choose the cast unless they're worth money. Then I'm choosing it as the producer. But bottom line is, I said to all my friends, "I'll get you an audition anytime. At 100% of the time, I'll get you an audition. I'm not going to give you a role unless you're valuable, a sellable name." So It's so cool that he was one of the first that I said, "Sure, get you the audition." And then on his own merit, he got cast. And I immediately after I got that email from him, I went to Rob. I go, "Do you cast Shawn Michael?" And he said, "Yes." I go, "Oh, great. That's my friend," and that was cool. So that was the first time he knew that. So Yeah.
I mean, that's how Sean and I met on the movie Echelon 8, but we didn't know each other before that. And we became really, really good friends and almost like I call him my producing partner, even though we haven't really produced much together, but we help other people. That's the thing. Like people call us to help them with their movies and we end up getting these like credits for things. And we're like, all right, but at least we don't have to leave the comfort of our home. And,
Well, you can
it's nice.
these days you can do it a lot
Yeah.
from, this is my office and my house. It's like I do, 95% of my business here. The rest is when I fly around and go to all these markets. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's exciting. Now, if you could, pick one person that you would want to work with that you haven't yet, who comes to mind?
They have to be alive, right? Yeah, you're
Yes,
not.
No, you know
yes.
what? No. Put it out
Sorry,
there.
alive, and then not alive.
I'll give you one alive. I'll give you one that's passed away. I mean, besides John Cassavetes, that picture right there is Bob Evans and me. Robert Evans, the greatest producer of all
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah.
I met him at a screening. I would have loved to have done a film with him. But as far as let's put it this way, I would say now I may not be able to narrow it down to somebody specifically, but I would love to go toe to toe with one of the best comedian actors, Steve Carell, Will Ferrell. I'm trying to think of there's nobody that defines comedy these days that it used to be in the past. Like Jim Carrey was the guy, you know what I mean? And he's not doing anything anymore. It's like that one of those guys where I could blow him off the screen, you know what I mean? Or at least, and so I get very competitive in that regard because I know.
I was saying we don't have a contemporary Steve Martin anymore.
No. And I mean, Jim was one. I mean, remember there's like the Mike Myers era, you know what I mean? And then suddenly his comedy got like stupid. And the same with like Jim Carrey. Suddenly, I think it was Judd Apatow came in and made a more intelligent verbal comedy. And it was kind of took this thing out of Mike Myers' kind of goofiness comedy. And so it's evolved each time. But, I think I would love to try to not go against one of those guys, but at least prove that I was the funnier one. I think that'd be fun. I could do an Anchorman or something like that.
Right.
It would be really cool. So.
I would have wanted to work with Robin Williams, I think. That was definitely one. And who's the guy from Reacher? I want to work with him.
That big dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What the hell is his name? Alan somebody.
Alan Richson.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Why? Because I'm just
I pretended like I didn't know his name, but I know his name.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
No, you know what I like about him? We were talking about this last week, actually, or a couple weeks ago. I like the fact that he's this big guy, right? He's this like tough guy, but then he has these funny one-liners. It's sort of like The Rock, how Dwayne Johnson has these like one-liners, or you just don't expect them to be funny or to say things. You just think they're going to be brutish and actually very funny. So exactly. I don't know. Well, I like that.
Rock has ventured into comedy so well. I mean, he's probably one of the top comedian actors right now. And
to be honest, he started off early with like Get Shorty or the sequel, actually, right?
He was in Get Shorty, was he?
No, if it wasn't Get Shorty, it was the sequel. I forget what the name of it was, but yeah, he was in that.
Okay, got it. I'm remembering. Yes, Get Shorty, the sequel, because that's Elmore Leonard. I've read all of his books, and it's what the hell is the name of the sequel now?
Calling it up on.
Get Shortier.
Oh yes, he was Vince Vaughn's bodyguard. Maybe. Was he?
Yes.
And he was like an actor that wanted to be famous. Yes. Okay, got it. But yes, The Rock and John Cena, I think, is so funny. I mean, starting in Trainwreck.
Be Cool. He was in.
What was it called?
Be Cool.
Be Cool.
Be Cool. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that was written by Elmore Leonard. I think that
I'm sure it wasn't. Actually,
maybe
actually,
he wrote it.
Yeah, no, actually, it was based on Elmore Leonard's novel of the same name.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe he did do that one. Okay, got it. He liked or something. I read like John Travolta's character that he did playing the guy in the first one, and I think that inspired him to write the sequel. But anyway, I was going to say John Cena, hilarious, obviously in Trainwreck, and then he did that.
On
HBO where he played the Peacemaker. He's great.
Peacemaker, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those guys, if they just play it straight, like Channing Tatum did in the 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, so serious as an actor, and then played it straight. And it was funny. You know what I mean? Like, it's just good material. So, yeah.
Pro wrestlers are in my wheelhouse, but like even like Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy, like just that subtle, over the top humor,
One-liners. I had in Ask Me to Dance. Funny you should mention is Kurt Angle is in a key scene playing himself in Ask Me to Dance. And I've always had a love for wrestling. I think those guys are natural performers, obviously, and there's a couple of them that I've been lucky enough to have lunch with. I had lunch with Jerry Lawler, which was awesome because he was giving me all these Andy Kaufman stories because I was a huge Andy Kaufman fan, and it's like the wrestlers.
You and I have that in common.
Oh, that's great! I got cool stories from that lunch, man. Oh, it was so cool.
Jerry Lawler and I have hung out a couple of times. Actually, he's actually a good friend of mine.
Oh, that's great. Yes, that's great. I mean, in Memphis he's got his own like a barbecue joint, and so that's so my friend Marie introduced us. She's real close with him. She's put him in a movie. She's a producer, and so we had lunch, and of course I got as many Kaufman stories as I could out of him, and it was cool. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I know that Ken and you could sit here forever and
probably
nerd out. And listen, Tom, we'll have you come back because I'm sure you'll have other projects that we'll want to talk about. So hopefully you'll come back in the future and sit with us. But I'm going to actually show the ticker again for your movie, askmetodancemovie.com. It's coming out on October 7th, and the premiere is the 6th in Santa Monica. You said.
No, in Hollywood.
Oh, in Hollywood. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Where at? Is it in the
Harmony Gold? The Harmony Gold screening room. Yeah, which is
fantastic.
Fun, right on Sunset there. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep us posted, but it was a pleasure having you, and thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. And, definitely awesome, and happy to be on the show anytime.
Sounds good. Well, take care. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right.
Wow.
Right? I knew that you would get along.
So much going on tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I felt like we could have talked to him for a couple hours.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? Like, I think I fell in love tonight.
Oh, well, hold that thought because we do have to play a little in the kitchen, and we know where your heart is for Nicole. So
Nicole trumps all. That's all that matters.
All right. Well, let's roll that clip for in the kitchen. Here we go.
All right.
Ken and Blaze, let's dance now. I'm a huge advocate for strength training as a primary modality of exercise. And I also encourage a lot of walking, contributing to non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Fancy way to say go out and move your body even when you're not actually exercising. Why do I choose those two things? One, we need strength training to maintain muscle mass and bone density, and walking, well, it's free pretty much. And for most people, it's really, really easy and it limits the excuses. However, let's get back to dancing. A lot of times we might see dance and it's promoted as it's fat loss, it's burning calories, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to say this. If you know that you love to dance, remember that the E in exercise stands for enjoyment. And choosing exercise as one of your primary modalities of exercise has a lot of other benefits. You might be spending more time with a partner. You might develop a sense of community. And well, you're probably going to end up a lot more coordinated than I am. If we're going out for a night of dancing, how do we fuel ourselves? Well, one, we want to make sure we're not sloppy drunk on the dance floor. You've probably heard me talk about this before, but let's space out our alcoholic beverages. For every one alcoholic beverage, let's have a glass of water and preferably one other non-alcoholic and non-caloric beverage. Second, let's make sure we've eaten before we've gone out. And it's a great time to talk about this because all the holidays are around the corner as well. So make sure you've had something to eat, a protein, fat, and fiber rich meal about half an hour before you hit the dance floor. So you're full and so you have some energy to burn. Makes sense, right? Lastly, again, kind of in line with point one, stay hydrated. Depending on what kind of dancing you're doing, you're probably going to lose some water, and we want to replenish that before you even get thirsty. So cheers to dancing. Cheers to you, Blaze and Ken. I would never forget you. So glad you're back, and go dance. See you next week.
See, she still proves it again. She's still number one in my heart. Sorry.
Well, I do have to say that on Thursday last week, after the show aired, I went to a place called Bright Eye in Long Beach, and her husband, Nicole's husband, was playing there. His band Bronx Slang, and they actually
Wait, hold on, hold on,
opened.
hold on. She's married?
Yes, she is. She is married,
Ah,
has a beautiful little
I
girl.
my feelings might have changed.
Oh,
No, I'm just
goodness.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, so she's married and her husband is in a band called Bronx Slang, and
That is awesome,
they
actually.
yeah, and incredible. I'll try to put a little clip here from the show.
We appreciate it. All right, check this out. If I had Benzie's talent and Beckham's looks, Ronaldo's legs and Neymar's foot, if I had Kanye's ego and Kobe's passion, I'd even look good in Russell Westbrook's fashion. If I had Swiss cheese or Alicia's keys, LeBron's combination of strength and speed, if I had Tyson's Fury or Jordan Tops, or Jacob's jewelry or De Niro's chops, if I had Rihanna's weed or Spike Lee's camera, Bloomberg's Reno, Chris Hemsworth's hammer, if I had Obama's swagger and Mayweather's speed, every shorty in the club would wanna have my seat. If I had Spidey senses and Kendrick's graves, I was more famous than the Kardashian family. If I had Brady's legacy,
He opened for 311. How cool is that?
That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he opened for 311. So I actually asked him if he would be on the show, and he agreed. So we'll have him come on at some point as well, and maybe we'll
Wait,
do like a husband and wife thing. We haven't done that yet, where we've had both husband and wife.
that would be awesome, and it's a
Yeah,
win-win.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we have one piece of business left, and that is to
Yes.
go beachcombing.
With
Uh,
you.
with me, with me, with me. Yes, very exciting. So let's just roll that clip.
Yep.
On today's episode, we horse around with the unique seahorse. Who can resist these adorable marine creatures that look like a horse's head? With several dozen different species found around the world, seahorses are a kind of fish, in the same family as sea dragons and pipefish. They are the slowest of all fish species, swimming upright using the small fin on their back. This fin can beat back and forth an incredible 50 times per second, but it doesn't get them very far very fast. What's super cool about them, though, is they can swim forwards, backwards, and also up and down. Take a look at this picture. See their prehensile tail? Reminds you of a monkey's tail, right? Their tail helps to anchor them in place or to each other. Did you know seahorses make sounds? Mostly during feeding and courtship, kind of sounds like their lips are smacking. Another cool thing about them is some species of seahorses do mate for life. They wrap their tails around each other and sway together. This strengthens their bond and also makes sure their partner is alive still. Oh, and male seahorses are the ones who carry the eggs and give birth. Wild. Well, until next time, explore, learn, love the adventure.
Aren't they so cute?
I learn something from you every week.
Listen, I can get mesmerized just sitting and watching them and their little dance and swaying as they wrap their tail around the weeds or the grass and seagrass. It's amazing. So, but
I never have to go to SeaWorld ever again. That's all. Doing this show, I never have to do this ever again.
well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But listen, we want to wrap things up now, but we're still actually screening below the askmetodancemovie.com.
Yes.
So we have to thank Tom Malloy for being our guest tonight. And telling us so many amazing things. Like my head is still spinning from all of the things that he shared, and especially the advice. I think the advice that he gave for somebody that's up and coming, or just that piece of advice to get more immersed into the business, going to the AFMs and all of those. It's an incredible piece of advice, and I'm going to take that myself because
Yeah.
I haven't really been either. So maybe we'll go together and we can interview some people there. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we will say
You know,
goodnight for now.
and real quick,
Yeah.
it is October.
Yeah.
Halloween season, conventions are coming. We're gonna have to get together, and I got to take you to a horror convention. I think this year.
I am so there. I am so there. So Chiller, if you're listening, we're coming for you.
My element. All right.
Yes, 100%. All right. Well, cheers
All
to
right.
that. Thanks for watching the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour. Till next week, guys.
See you next week.